As the candidates get settled and people find parking, I want to make a quick announcement. We did find a pair of ladies, that's what I was told, ladies' keys. They're at the ADP table. So if anybody is missing their car keys, they are safe. They're at the American Democracy Project table. I hear a lot of keys clinking. Welcome. Welcome to this candidate forum. We are delighted to have candidates on your St. Joseph County ballot here tonight to introduce themselves to you. For some of you, you may in fact be seeing them for a second or even a third time. And we, in fact, celebrate people who do their research before going to the polls to cast their votes on Election Day. So we are delighted you're here in our audience or joining us on YouTube this evening. We have 30 candidates who we have scheduled to speak. So we will get to their statements very, very shortly. I'm Elizabeth Bennion. I'm the campus director of the American Democracy Project at Indiana University South Bend, and also director of voter services and education for the League of Women Voters of the South Bend area. Our two organizations are nonpartisan. We never endorse a party or candidate, but we do partner to bring you live debates and live forums with as many candidates as we possibly can. This evening, we are delighted to partner with the St. Joseph County Public Library. We have partnered with them in the past through our Civic Leadership Academy, and we applaud the work that the library is doing to get people informed and engaged. And I especially want to thank Rana Plummer for her help in organizing today's event. This is the end of a series of primary season events for the League and the American Democracy Project, including a number of events that you'll see listed on the screen here and in the back of your program. Those are available online, so you can go and check those out as well. Because this is our last big public event, I also want to mention my American Democracy Project student leadership team. They are Casey Huerta, my ADP intern, along with Sarah Addy, Nicole Fulmer, Aden Lane, Roger Pinto, Carrie Tanner, and Javier Zamaripa. And they have been terrific in helping to host all of the events this season. What we are going to do is we are going to hear from the candidates in the order listed in your program, starting first with those candidates who are running in contested primary elections. After that, we will move to the candidates who are running in contested general election races. You will see them on your primary ballot, but they are running unopposed. Still important to figure out who they are. And so we're delighted that they could be here this evening as well. We're going to start first with U.S. Representative. So these are folks who are hoping to win a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Indiana's 2nd Congressional District. We will start with 3 candidates who we have featured in several events this campaign season, and they will speak to you for 5 minutes each in alphabetical order. And we start first with Pat Hackett.
Good evening. Can you hear me in the back? Thank you, Dr. Benyon, our sponsors, and to all of you for being here this evening. I'll shout this out from the rooftops if I need to in order to be heard. I'm Pat Hackett, and I'm running for Congress because this is no ordinary time, and I believe in dignity and justice for all. Dignity and justice for all, not the few. This is no ordinary time. I'm running for Congress because Eleanor Roosevelt's words are as true now as ever before. For over a year, Donald Trump and his enablers in Congress, and I include amongst them Jackie Walorski, have created a state of disunion through assault on women, people of color, immigrants, our free press, our right to vote, our right to assemble, the truth, evidence, and reason, all that for which our nation stands. This district needs a congresswoman who will stop Donald Trump, not enable him. This is no ordinary midterm. I'm also running for Congress because, contrary to what Jackie Walorski has said to us, the tax bill she recently helped pass is not good for us. Instead, the nation's deficit will explode by $2 trillion. Also, 13 million Americans will lose their health insurance. This district needs a congresswoman who will protect, not destroy, your earned Social Security and Medicare. So who am I? I'm a Roosevelt Democrat who believes that Johnson's war on poverty is still worth fighting. That said, I'm also a 21st century candidate. I'm married to my spouse, Rita, who joins me here today. And we have the dignity of marriage because of the rule of law and heroes who have come before us. I grew up near Detroit. My mom and dad were attorneys, and they met when my dad returned from World War II in the Navy, and they met in law school. My mom was a pioneer. They graduated in 1950, married in 52, and then they had 7 daughters. And I'm the 5th of the 7, and that's why I always proudly say, I am Pat Hackett. I have my dad's name. By the 5th daughter, somebody got his name. Most importantly, for this office, I understand law from my parents to be a noble profession. And this is the perspective I commit to you that I will bring to my service as your advocate. I've been in the district nearly 40 years. I received my undergraduate degrees in government theology, my master's degree, and my law degree from the University of Notre Dame. I've taught at Marian High School, at St. Mary's College, and Notre Dame Law School. And I have practiced law in this district for over 26 years. I am a principled Democrat whose bipartisanship will be found by looking for principled Republicans across the aisle. I am not a pay-to-play politician. As a trial attorney, I know how to advocate for the people I represent. And this really is how I am different from my colleagues in this race. Mel and Yatish are businessmen. And unlike Mel, I have never given over $45,000 to right-wing Republicans who are anti-union, anti-women, anti-LGBTQ. Nor have I donated to Jackie Walorski, as has Yatish. Jackie, Yatish, and Mel say that's business. I say that's exactly what we don't need in Congress. Instead, my campaign and how I will beat Jackie Walorski is through a people-powered campaign, not a self-financed campaign with huge amounts of money to buy your votes. And it will be as fired up Democrats, not moneyed special interests, that we will use to defeat Jackie. One vote at a time, we will defeat Jackie. And I will be the happy warrior, and I will be delighted to lead the charge to turn this district blue. So what does dignity and justice look like? It's universal health care coverage, Medicare for all, because health care is a right, not a privilege. It's the dignity of work and support for organized labor and a just and sustainable wage of at least $15 an hour, not $1 more, as Mel would support. It's also robust funding for public education from early childhood, and also the support of the vocational trades. And frankly, organized labor is the virtuous life, and we need to bring the worker back to the table. And it's campaign finance reform and responsible gun legislation. We need to do this for the children on our streets and in our schools and in our churches. My website is pathackettforcongress.com. I have many well-developed positions. I have endorsements. I'm happy tonight to announce an endorsement by the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. Please join my campaign. I invite you to my town hall that will be held at the Century Center at Sunday, 2 to 4. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Pat. We hear next from Mel Hall.
Thank you, Dr. Benyon. Thank you, the League of Women Voters, and thank you to all of you for taking time to be here this evening. It's energizing to see so many candidates and to so many folks out tonight to learn more and to be intimately involved in democracy. I have never aspired to run for office before. It's never been on my bucket list. But given what happened in 2016, and given that we have a representative who does not show up and does not meet with folks, I have to run. I am compelled to do so. I must do this. And since last September, we've been all over the district, all 10 counties, numerous times. And what we hear from in Pulaski and Fulton and Wabash County and Stark County and Marshall County and Kosciuszko County, all 10 counties, is that people are eager for change and people want things to be different. People believe that we can be better. And so our focus since getting into this race has been on the issues that matter across this district. And those issues have to do with wages for working class folks. Many folks know that the stock market has done well over the last 3 or 4 years. Not many know that 75% of the people who live in this district don't own a single share of stock. They work for a living. And when they work, they get paid. And when they don't, they do not. And so we focus there. We focus on improving healthcare, not repealing nor replacing the Affordable Care Act. We focus on the trades. The trades, my father was a carpenter. That's an honorable profession. And this is a point in this district's life where opportunity and need intersect. We have need right now for people in the trades. I was with union folks a couple of weeks ago. Well, now it's 4 weeks ago. And they said they have need right now for 100 welders. Those are honorable professions. And that is something we need to focus on. We can do better. I'm a proponent and a product of public education. In my view, public education is one of the cornerstones of democracy. It helps to protect our freedom. My sons are both graduates from Adams High School. I am a fan and a supporter of public education, and we want to make sure that Social Security and Medicare is vouchsafed for all. We have been all over this district, and we are proud to have the support of the United Steelworkers, of Jill Long Thompson, of In Citizens United, of Mayor Kaufman. The New Democrats have supported, and so we're getting support from all over the district and from all over the country for a change here in the 2nd District. If we learned anything at all from 2016, we learned that elections matter. It matters who wins. It does make a difference, elections do, and I'm running to be your representative. We can win if we want to win. We will win with all of our support. We can win this seat if we want to win. I'm asking for your support. We are people-powered and data-driven. Let's win in November. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mel. And now we hear next from Yatish Joshi.
Hello, everyone. My vision and policies for 2nd District are very clear and people-centered. I believe that together America works. I am an inventor, job creator, and successful business owner. My company, GTA Containers, manufactures collapsible tanks that are used for fertilizer, salt brine on winter roads, clean drinking water, and disaster areas, and by the US military to support our troops with fuel and water. We must move beyond partisan politics. Those who disagree with us or belong to different political party are not our enemies. They are our family, neighbors, and friends. Vilifying those with whom we disagree makes collaboration impossible. As candidate, we all have the same ethical standards established by the FUC. I'm 100% in compliance with these regulations and fully prepared to divest myself of my companies and when elected as required by law to guarantee no conflict of interest. From the beginning, my campaign has been focused on issues and firmly grounded in concrete policies. I was the first candidate to advocate for Medicare for all, to assure excellent care for our soldiers, our seniors, our veterans, our children, and all Hoosiers. I'm the only candidate who's fighting for, number one, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour so the American workers can earn a living wage. Two, tying corporate tax cuts to employee wages and benefits. Higher the wages, better the family-friendly benefits, higher the tax cut they will earn. Three, decriminalize marijuana and ending the failed war on drugs, including closing all profit for prisons. Number four, providing a path to citizenship for dreamers and their families, while also abolishing ICE, which has become a militarized force for implementing racist immigration policy. Five, we must get big money and its corrupting power out of American politics. We must restore our democracy to one that is truly of the people, by the people, for the people. Number six, keep net neutrality. And number seven, forgiving student loan debt without tax implications. And the government profiting of 1.6 billion a year of students seeking to improve their lives through education. We must strengthen Social Security by removing the cap on taxable income to increase funding and earning limits so retirees can supplement their income if they want to. And school vouchers that are siphoning resources from our public schools and recommit ourselves to investing in education from pre-K through college and trade school. I support Second Amendment, but permanently ban military-grade assault rifles that have no place in civilian society, including pump stops and enhancer. I am uniquely proposing that gun owners have to buy liability insurance, just like car insurance, to lower the burden on taxpayer for the cost of gun violence. Currently, approximate annual cost is $229 billion, and we, the taxpayer, pays 87% of it. Make tax cut permanent for low and middle class Americans and small businesses, and fossil fuel subsidies, and use those resources to invest in green energy to protect our environment, and strengthening voting rights so that every vote counts as our founder intended. We can create a more just and inclusive world by working together to assure that every member of our community is valued and served. I want to make Second District the best for everyone by being your listening ear, fighting for issues that matter us to most, and work across the aisle to collaborate and find solutions that benefit the Second District and our nation. We must repeal Jackie Wolowski. Together, America works. I'm asking for your vote on May 8th. Thank you.
You can learn a lot more about these candidates. It was a pleasure to moderate two debates with those three candidates. Our debate at the campus auditorium at Indiana University South Bend attracted 450 people. Another 380 showed up at the Learner Center in Elkhart, and you can see those online at iusb.edu/ADP. You can check out the footage of those debates. Also, there are candidate interviews available at wnit.org. And so you can check those out before Election Day. And then, of course, vote411.org, which is an online candidate guide. And that is courtesy of the League of Women Voters. And we have partnered with them and the Tribune to bring you that resource. So lots of ways to find out more. We recognize that 5 minutes may not be enough time to make a final decision. So now we are delighted to bring you some candidates who you may have heard a bit less about this campaign season, but who expressed an interest in being here tonight and also completed their Vote 411 guide. Their statements, everything on Vote 411 is verbatim from the candidates, so you can compare them side by side and issue positions. And so also on your ballot in the Democratic primary for a U.S. Representative, 2nd Congressional District, are Doug Carpenter, Roland Leach, and John Petroff. And we will hear first in alphabetical order from Doug Carpenter.
Thanks everyone for coming tonight to this, and thanks for inviting me, Elizabeth. First of all, when I was 18 years old, I never thought about being a politician. My goal was to be a farmer, and I went to Purdue, and I didn't do so well in school. And well, farming is not something you just jump into unless you're raised on a farm. We had horses, but I did the next best thing, and I had 4-H hogs for 2 years in the 4-H, and I had 4-H lambs. When I realized I wasn't going to be a farmer, I thought maybe I'd be a businessman. So I went to Ensola-Domini College down in Donaldson, Indiana, Marshall County. I even played basketball on their team. I was the worst player on their team, but I really enjoyed it. Business wasn't for me, although I did fairly well in classes. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then my brother's best friend mentioned to me that my brother had wanted to be a doctor, but he had trouble with chemistry, and that's all I needed to hear. And so from then on, I knew what I had to do. Anyway, at that same time, I was about the age 27, and I was a Republican at the time, and I wanted to be able to tell my grandkids I had served under Ronald Reagan in the armed services. He had restored the dignity to the armed services. It was sad as a child. I was born in 1961 to see these heroes of mine returning from war being spat upon and cursed. And it was nice to see President Reagan return that dignity. I only served for him for 20 days, although I did serve for 3 years in the United States Army Reserve. While at basic training, I gained a lot of confidence, and I realized I could march 12 miles and I could stay up for 3 days straight. And so I thought, wow, if I'm going to try to go to medical school, that's what it's going to take. So I threw myself into it. And at the age of 34, I graduated from the American University of the Caribbean School of Medicine, which sounds strange. A lot of people haven't heard of it, but I did pass the United States medical licensing exam, and I did work for St. Joseph Regional Hospital as well as Grange Memorial Hospital. My life was interrupted. I soon became a single parent, and I ended up taking care of my elderly mother who passed away a year ago. For the past 10 years, I've been helping care for mother without any pay. And I have no regrets. And it was one of the most enjoyable times of my life, and I have a lot of good memories. When healthcare was an issue in 2012, that's when I first started thinking about running for politics. And I needed to register as a Democrat because by then I am pro-choice. I am for keeping our promise to the Dreamers. And I guess you could call me a progressive. Anyway, I don't want to keep everyone here too long tonight, but just so you know, I have not asked for campaign donations, and nor would I accept any. I'm doing this all with my own money, and I've spent $2,000 now, but which is 3 times more than I did in the previous 2 campaigns. Anyway, my diverse experiences have, I think, prepared me to be a politician, even though that wasn't my dream at the age of 18. And I think my service in the military, my training as a medical doctor, as well as the Eagle Scout I earned in 1979, well prepare me for the mess that Washington is. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Next, we will hear from Roland Leach.
Hi, my name is Roland Leach. I'm from Plymouth, Indiana. A little bit about me. I graduated from Plymouth in '67. I joined the service, the United States Army. I'm a veteran. I served in Vietnam. I served in Korea. I served on the DMZ in Korea, not the war, but the Cold War. I'm a bookkeeper for a local VFW in Plymouth. What got me into this congressional race is because I don't like Jackie Worski, period. She's basically, Trump and Jackie are just a pain. But Trump doesn't have a clue what he's doing, but we'll see how that goes. I consider me a compassionate person. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care, just so long as you don't break the law. I'm fine, basically, other than jaywalking. And after Plymouth, I graduated from. After I got out of service, I had various jobs. So, but I'm retired now. In 1977, I went to San Francisco to go to City College of San Francisco. I just wanted to change, so I went to San Francisco. So I love the city, but I couldn't afford it. My priorities are I'm very, like I said, I don't care what religion you are or what race you are. I'll accept you as a friend. I support DACA, and I support sanctuary cities. I also support Planned Parenthood. I'm pro-choice. I support the Iran nuclear deal and the Paris Environment Agreement. I like clean water and clean air. But I like to get off. I would like to get off the gasoline thing. Everything goes backwards. Sometimes 1 minute we're taking our stuff off of gasoline, next minute we're pumping more oil. So I'd rather get away from gasoline because we've been on gas. Well, I like to have different things to do. $3, gasoline is almost $3 again, all over again. So it's yeah. And then I also would like to ban, even though people don't like banning guns, but then the Rifle Association, they have all these supporters. And it seems like they have all the cards. So I wish to ask them, what would they want to give up to make Americans safe again? But I would like to ban AR-15s. I like to ban ghost guns. I like to ban bump stocks, and I would like to make it stronger mental health issues, so the psychiatrist can call the FBI to tell them this person can't not get a gun. But I also liked in 1970, Congress passed a law where where they removed where they made marijuana a controlled substance. I would like to make marijuana legalized for recreation and medical. That's my plan. If marijuana was legalized, the sales tax, the state sales tax can take that money from the marijuana sales and use it for infrastructure or public schools. But it's about time for you guys to make marijuana legal, because they can buy it now and they don't have to pay sales tax. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, for a U.S. Representative, 2nd District, we will hear from John Petroff.
Hi, I'm John Petroff, and I am the last candidate for 2nd District. I will be the last candidate on the ballot. And my niece always says, well, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm an 8th generation Hoosier. My first ancestor that came here during or after the American Revolution. And he got a chunk of land. They used to give you, for fighting in the Revolution or the Civil War or the War of 1812, they would give you a chunk of land, and at the end of your service, or a fistful of dollars. And most of the men took a chunk of land. And I've got 6 generations of farmers in my family, and then I did inherit the farming gene, but I did not inherit the farm. So I actually have an honest job, or honorable. What was the word? Either honest or honorable. I drive a school bus, and we need lots of school bus drivers. So if any of you candidates that lose the election want to be a school bus driver, you can go to LaPorte County and be a school bus driver. I do tell people my joke, though, that I'm very qualified to serve in Congress because I deal with screaming kids every day. So I guess the reason I'm running, and I've actually got a business background, and I'm kind of in limbo in business, but I did graduate from Indiana. I graduated from Marion High School, which is the same county where Mel graduated from. I was the city school. He was the county school. I graduated from IU in Bloomington with a business degree. And I never, like a lot of these gentlemen and ladies, I never thought I would run for office. And I'm actually an ex-Republican. I tell people I'm a Republican of Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and Dwight Eisenhower. And of course, Lincoln was probably our most liberal president. People don't recognize that. Roosevelt set aside more land than anybody and broke up 40 monopolies. And Eisenhower built our highway infrastructure and had 7 balanced budgets. So the Republican Party basically has lost their way. And I left the party in 2000. And I sat and I watched and I listened, and I cannot believe that there just isn't an uprising against this Republican Party. So I'm running because we, the people, have become a nation of the blind following the blind. We no longer have the ability to recognize truth, and we don't have leaders that speak truth. Jackie Walorski can't tell us that Obama's born in Hawaii because she's part of a giant cult where half the people believe Obama's born in Kenya. Jackie Walorski can't tell us global warming is occurring, again, because she's in a giant cult that where a majority of the people believe it doesn't exist. Global warming doesn't even exist. Jackie Walorski won't tell you guns kill people because she has to embrace the NRA little propaganda lie that guns don't kill people, people kill people. And there is truth in that, but it's not the closest to the truth. The closest to the truth you can get on that is the only thing that's going to come out of the end of a gun is death, period. And I am not a fan of the Second Amendment. And there's only one nation, there's only 3 nations that have a right to bear arms written into their constitutions. That's us, Guatemala, and Mexico. And only one nation has an unfettered right to bear arms or unrestricted in the Constitution, and that's us. And we pay 32,000 lives a year, and that's just insane. So I'm fired up. I'm gonna use the rest of my time just to encourage you to participate in this election. There's a good chance your candidate is not going to win. Okay, I'm sorry, but there's a very good chance your candidate is not going to win. And my candidate there's a good chance my candidate won't win. But we need to unite and we need to go after this Republican Party full speed. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Mark, some could not be here, mostly because we can't seem to find him. But Jackie Walorski is unable to be here this evening, but she did, in fact, enter her responses into the vote411.org guide. So you can compare her responses side by side with those of the 6 people you just heard speak before the primary election. And so those are the candidates who you will find there at vote411.org. We will turn next to another contested primary race, and that is the St. Joseph County Sheriff race. Once again, we will hear from each candidate for 5 minutes, and the candidates will speak in alphabetical order. We hear first from Tim Corbett.
Good evening. My name's Tim Corbett. In 1975, I joined the South Bend Police Department. I've been a police officer for 43 years. 43 years. I started off buying dope legally. I know you want to legalize marijuana, but then it wasn't. So I was buying it legally as an undercover officer. I worked my way up from patrolman to patrolman first class, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, and then captain. I've trained in excess of 10,000 police officers and an additional 3,700 women in personal self-defense. I've testified as an expert on use of force cases and saved the city of South Bend back in 98, 99, and 2000, approximately $1 million. I'm very dedicated. I was commander of the SWAT team, which I was a member for 20 years, commander of the bomb team. I've received over 200 letters of commendation, received Officer of the Year for recovery of a hostage who's being held at gunpoint. I've been recognized for a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indiana Prosecutors Association. In my 17 years, or nearly 17 years, being commander of the homicide unit, the national average is about 65%. We have steadily been in the high 80s and in fact the low 90s. We are recognized nationally. We've been featured on the Paul Azan show 3 times for cold case investigations. And that's because of the unit, not strictly because of me. We've solved 23 cold cases, including the case of Teresa Burns that went unsolved for 28 years. In 2012, I was the leader and the manufacturer of going after the cash out gang. We arrested 21 of 23 of their members. put them in prison, both state and federal. Some received both, which resulted in a 20% reduction, 20% in burglaries, robberies, shootings, murders, rapes. It made a huge difference. I work closely with the FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, the Drug Enforcement Unit, Special Victims Unit, and any other unit within the state. Started a mentoring program through Washington High School where young kids can find out what police work is about. They get to come down, hang out with the police. They get to go out to crime scenes and find out what really police work is about. I also started a voluntary cold case unit. These are retired officers that came in and started working on cold cases. Right now, we have two that we think are very close, including a 30-year-old murder case. This bag here, it's not my lunch. I didn't roll somebody out front. This bag represents about 300 letters. Those letters are from prisoners from all over the United States. People that I've put in prison, people that still trust me, people that never even knew me, but they call me because they know that we're firm, we're fair, but they trust. Those letters represent taking off between 325 and 350 killers in your community since I became the commander. Supervision is very simple. Do your job, get people to follow you. If you're having problems with your people not responding and poor morale, maybe you ought to look in the mirror and find out what the problem is, because it's probably staring back at you. I keep people safe by doing it and not talking about it. I don't talk about safety as a new political punchline on a mailer. I train in it, I teach it, and I do it every day. I'm a leader. Titles don't keep you safe. Positive people with positive ideas do. For 43 years, I've been a cop, your cop. And whether you love me or you hate me, I'll always do the right thing and protect you. Safety is my #1 priority. And the #1 priority starts with getting the gangs off the street, not the groups, the gangs. When they check into the St. Joseph County Jail, they're not asked what group they're in, they're asked what gang they're in. And by taking these people off in 2012, by FBI statistics, 20% of burglars, murderers, shooters, rapists were off your street. It can be done again, and I'm willing to do it. I'm asking for your vote on May 8th. I will lead that department in a positive way. Thank you. And if you want to see these letters, they'll be over at our table. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. We will hear next from Bill Redman.
Good evening. I would like to thank Dr. Binion and everybody that helped host this event this evening. I'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Bill Redman. I'm running for the office of Sheriff of St. Joseph County. I'm born and raised here in St. Joseph County, grew up in South Bend, graduated from Riley High School, and then attended Bethel College. From there, I always wanted to be a police officer, and shortly thereafter, I had the opportunity to join the St. Joe County Police Department. Married to my wife, Kim, of 25 years. Together, we have 4 daughters, all adult daughters. 3 of those 4 have pursued jobs to also work in assisting other people. I have my oldest daughter is in medical school at Butler. I have a school teacher daughter who's in Indianapolis teaching in schools there, and then a soon-to-be special education teacher who attends Indiana University. So I think what my daughters have learned from me, what I learned from my parents who were both blue-collar workers, the importance of helping our community and giving back to our community. We also, my wife and I and our oldest daughter have a 5-year-old grandson. So that is another reason why I'm running for sheriff here in St. Joseph County, because I want to make sure that we continue to have a safe community to raise all of our children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren to make sure that our community remains a safe place to live. The reason why I'm also running is because I believe I am the best candidate for sheriff. I believe because of the work that I've done over the years with the community and our local youth is extremely important. And that is something I want to continue doing as sheriff of St. Joseph County, is working with our youth. I think that is extremely important to make sure that our youth understand the importance of making good decisions on a day-to-day basis. I have spent 20 of the 23 years as a police officer in our local schools. I taught DARE for 18 years on a day-to-day basis, and I also continue now in our schools as a school resource officer. And as most of you know, it is important that we have officers in our schools to make sure that our schools are safe, our children can be educated, and the staff and the teachers can educate the children, and they deserve that. Outside of their own homes, schools should be the next safest place for our children. And that is going to be one of my top priorities as sheriff of St. Joseph County, is to make sure we interact with our local youth as well as our schools. What qualifies me to serve is not only my experience with DARE and working with the community, but being involved in the community, I think, is extremely important. Being able to communicate with people. I know that since I've been a DARE police officer, since I've been working on my candidacy to become sheriff, I have met with a lot of different people throughout this community. I am one that will listen and understand what their concerns are before I make a decision. And I think that is what this sheriff's office needs, is someone who is going to listen to what the concerns are before we just make a decision on a day-to-day basis in order to make our community safe. I've heard all of the different issues. Opioid issue is here. We have that issue here locally. It's a national issue, but at the same time, we have synthetic marijuana issues and we have other issues going on as well. So listening to the community and being a more proactive sheriff versus reactive to prevent all of the crimes that are occurring, I think is extremely important. I think that's what sets me apart from the other candidates for sheriff, is that I want to be more proactive, be involved in the community, listen to what our concerns are to make those decisions. I also would prefer not mass incarceration. I would try to get people the assistance they need, substance abuse assistance before they end up in our jails. I'd rather have the money that we spend, which is about 43% of the county budget, is for criminal justice. I would rather take that money and do programs and educational programs to prevent people from getting arrested, turning to drugs and alcohol and all those harmful things, versus waiting till they get arrested and have those issues and then deal with them. I think it'd be better spent spending the money for education and doing those things ahead of time. So with that being said, that's what sets me apart from the other candidates. I would certainly appreciate all of your support on May 8th, and I look forward to speaking with you a little bit after the program this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. And now we hear from another Bill. We hear from Bill Thompson.
Good evening. I'd like to echo some of the remarks that have been made by others this evening and thank the sponsors of this. This is a very important thing. The more folks are involved, the better decisions you all can make. So that makes me feel good just to be involved in this process and to see the number of people that come out to learn about the candidates so they can make the best possible decision. As Dr. Benyon said, my name is Bill Thompson. I'm running for St. Joseph County Sheriff. A couple of things about myself. I've been in policing now for over 35 years. Over the course of that time, I have managed to do a lot of different things. I've had a very, very good career. I've spent time working in our county jail, working in the patrol function. I'm also a police department instructor. I've been a motorcycle officer before, a SWAT team member and team commander, a dive team member and team commander, a homicide investigator, an undercover drug enforcement investigator. I know it's hard to imagine, but yes, there was a time when I did have hair. And actually, for the 6 years I worked in narcotics, I didn't cut it the whole time. So my ponytail had almost reached my belt when I got out of that. True story. I have the pictures. My sister's wedding has the pictures, actually. But it's been a very good career. And the last about 10 years of it has been one place or another, doing administrative work, doing some of the leadership tasks that running a complex police organization requires. Those tasks are not something that you can learn overnight. Well, in the case of our organization, the St. Joseph County Police, it's about 300 people and a budget of about 20 million of your tax dollars every year. So it's a large and complex organization, and it's not the kind of job that you can just learn on the go. You have to kind of know it before you get there. with my experience, I can hit the ground running. I grew up in this community. In fact, I was born about 12 blocks north of here in Memorial Hospital. And I've been a member of this community for most of my life. I went away to school for a while. I actually have a bachelor's degree from Indiana University in public affairs. I have a master's degree from Gonzaga University in communication and leadership. Those are the kinds of skills that modern policing requires. And you'll notice when I talk about it, I usually say policing. I don't say law enforcement very often because there's more to our business than just law enforcement. Policing is a much, much broader topic, and it requires a much broader skill set, the kind of skill set that I'll bring to this office. I could tell you a little bit more about my history, but that's really not important. I mean, yeah, you should know a little bit about the background of the person that you want to lead your county police department, but every bit as important as the things that I've done in my past are the things I'm planning to do in the future as your next sheriff. The opioid addiction problem, the scourge of that is something that that's come home to roost in our community in some very public ways. Some very high profile incidents have taken place. But behind those high profile incidents, there is also a day-to-day toll that our community is paying because of opioids. There are programs, there are things that we can bring to this community without costing us a whole lot of money that are going to have an impact on that. There's a police assisted addiction intervention program. Originally, it was started out on the East Coast, started in Massachusetts. It's been brought to the Midwest. Actually, LaPorte City Police Department uses it. It's a program that we can use here to get people into treatment as opposed to the jail. If you arrest an addict, you're really not arresting the problem. All you're doing is delaying it. They'll go into jail, they'll get sober for a little while, and then they'll be back out and doing the same thing. If we can intervene in those people, we can actually get them some help. Stop spending your tax money on incarcerating people who don't need to be there. Save that jail space for the violent criminals that actually need to be locked up. And speaking of the violence, in that same hospital I was born in about 12 blocks from here, right now, about this time of night on a warm spring night, if they haven't already received their first shooting victim of the night, they're ready for it because there's violent crime in this community. Now, the county police department doesn't do a lot of policing inside the city limits, but maybe we should do a little bit more by reaching out to our city partners, Mishawaka, South Bend, the other municipalities. I think we can come up with a task force approach that can identify those violators most likely to cause violence on our streets, target those folks for enforcement, and get those folks off the street before things get any worse than what they already are. And our violent crime problem is bad enough as it is. That coupled with my ability to manage the jail and the amount of money that's involved in that, programs to give some of those folks some job skills, combating their addiction problems, some other things that will stop that revolving door of recidivism that is not effective as a criminal justice policy, and it's certainly not effective with your tax dollars. There's a lot more I could tell you about. Please see me in the hallway after, and we'll absolutely talk about it. My name's Bill Thompson. I want to be your next sheriff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. And we were very pleased to host a debate featuring those candidates as well. A good number of you turned out to pack the auditorium in Wycamp Hall at IU South Bend and also the overflow room. If you were unable to be there, you can find the footage online. And so you can go again to iusb.edu/ADP, and we will link you to that footage courtesy of ABC 57. So you can catch up if you want to hear more from those candidates. Now, you can see we have one more candidate who was not part of our debate because he has not contested in the primary election, but we do hope that whichever of the three speakers you just heard from wins the primary, that one of them will be debating Mr. Jonas next fall. And so now Mr. Jonas will have 90 seconds because he's not running in a competitive primary, but just to let us at least know who he is, and particularly for those of you who are considering or who are determined to vote in the Republican Party primary. So, Mr. Jonas.
Thank you so much. It seems like I'm probably the only Republican in this building by some of the remarks, but that's okay. I'm used to it. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm Paul Jonas. I grew up here in this community. Went to Our Lady of Hungary Grade School, Riley High School. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, served my country for 4 years. I joined the county police department in 1985, served on that department for 30 years, and retired in 2014. I've been married to my wife for 38 years. I have 2 sons, 2 grandchildren, Skylie and Amelia, and a third grandchild, another girl, coming in July. I do look forward to this fall meeting one of these fine gentlemen in the upcoming election. I know I have a little bit of time left. Please visit me on my website, pauljonasforsheriff.com. It'll give you a little bit more as far as my background and my education. I thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll hope to hear a lot more from Paul in the fall. We turn next to another contested primary race on your St. Joseph County ballots, and that is the important race of St. Joseph County Assessor. And we will hear first from Darren Batiste.
So I want to thank Professor Binion. And I want to ask you guys, how are you doing tonight? Nobody's asked you that yet. I don't want to neglect you. You doing all right? Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. I'm not going to stick on it for long, but I was an appraiser trainee for 5 years. What an appraiser trainee does is learn the 3 approaches to valuation, which are the cost approach, the income approach, and the sales comparison approach. Those approaches are also used in assessing. And so that's kind of my background and why I'm qualified to do assessments. I also went down to Indianapolis and I took my level 1 and level 2 assessors tests. And sometimes it takes assessors years to get a level 2. And it took me 14 days. And I got them with over 90% proficiency. So I aced both the tests and I walked out there with a smile on my face. And so from the technical standpoint, I think I'm capable. But let's talk about some of the issues. Some of the issues that we're currently facing in the assessor's office is we have a lack of modernization. And what I mean by that, that's a big word, but what I mean by modernization is there's 92 counties in Indiana. And St. Joe County is one of the most progressive. You know, we like to say that, right? We're one of the most progressive. Well, out of the 92 counties, approximately 2/3, about 60 of them, have abandoned the software they were using because of its limitations, and it's outdated, and it causes certain errors when it comes to assessments. They've abandoned it. We're still using it. That's a problem. We got to change that. We have to be up to the times with everybody else so we can be a competitive county. So that's one of the things with modernization. The other thing with modernization is when you look at our website, even though we were one of the first counties out of the 92 to put on, upload our property record cards, less than 20% of our property record cards have property record sketches. That's a problem when it comes to valuation because we need to know what's on that parcel of land. So we need to modernize some of those things. The next thing that I think is an issue in St. Joe County is fairness. What I mean by fairness is the appeal process. The appeal process in St. Joe County can sometimes be abysmal. That's a strong word, but it is what it is. There's been records of people who have appealed and their appeals have been in limbo for 2-3 years. And while they're in limbo, they have to pay for taxes that they don't agree with. And when they finally do get their appeal heard, and if it is in their favor, then the county has to pay for 3 years of a refund plus interest, which hurts the county. So we need to be fair and we need to make sure that our assessments have a certain level of efficiency and not take 2 or 3 years. There's no excuse for that. That's a problem. Thirdly, accuracy. We need to make sure that we are being prudent and making sure that the information that we put into our mass appraisal system, it's a software system that pumps out the numbers. We need to make sure that the information we put in is accurate because what comes out is only as accurate as what goes in. We're using outdated land values in some instances. St. Joe County is still using the same neighborhood delineations and neighborhood lines that were created back in the early 90s when every township had its own assessor. Now there's only one assessor, the St. Joe County assessor plus Penn, and we're still using the same neighborhoods that were drawn over 30 years ago. That's a problem. Okay, so I'm not gonna hold you guys long, but I wanna leave you with this. I don't wanna get up here, I was gonna come up here and talk about experience, but between the other 2 candidates, they have enough experience in years, between the both of them, than years I've been walking on this earth. So there's really no point for me to go down the experience lane. But I do know with experience, there should be results. There should be progressive results. I do know that with great experience, there comes a great expectation for excellence and accuracy. And the St. Joe County is lacking that right now currently. And so experience is good when you have change, but when you don't, it calls into question some of this experience that we talk about. And lastly, my mama raised me. She was tough. She's a teacher. She's a principal. She always used to say, you can't fix the problem unless first you admit that you have a problem. And so what makes me uniquely qualified to be your next St. Joe County assessor is that out of the candidates that you will hear tonight, I'd say I'm the only one that really feels adamantly that there's a strong problem in St. Joe County. So when I get in office, I won't ignore those problems. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to attack them tirelessly and make sure we can find some answers. And I'll use all parties needed to find those answers. And so my name is Darren Batiste. I'm running for your St. Joe County assessor. Go to my webpage, darrenbatiste4assessor.com. I'm throwing a rally this Thursday and next Thursday at Veggie Buddies. You can come out and hear me talk a little bit more. And I even sing a little bit, so I might, sing a note. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Darren. Next, we hear from Kevin Claybor.
Thank you, Professor Binion, for inviting me this evening. My name is Kevin Claybor. I'm working very hard for your vote and support to be elected county assessor for this spring and fall election. My intent for running for office was to shape things better for the future. I am a candidate with compassion for all taxpayers. Just everyone, not a specific group, not just business, everybody. I was born and raised in St. Joseph County. I've lived on Snowberry Road, North Liberty for the past 12 years. And I've had some great support from all my neighbors and in a small town in North Liberty. And it's been a wonderful thing to get that support. My qualifications for the office, I have over 20 years of public service in the county assessor's office. I was promoted from clerk to chief deputy to president of the property tax board. And that was a nice honor because I was elected by my peers. And I have 10-year experience there. I was also elected precinct committeeman in District 1 in downtown South Bend. I'm a graduate of Indiana University with a degree in education. And I have professional licenses in escrow, have my state of Indiana teaching license, my real estate broker's license, level 1 and 2 assessor appraiser license certification. And as my friends and neighbors say in North Liberty and around the community, they came up with the slogan is that, vote for Claybor. He's a good neighbor and a good friend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. Our incumbent assessor, Rosemary Mandrici, hopes to get here, but she had a prior commitment. She's talking with first-time home buyers this evening. So depending how many questions they have, she hopes to make it before the end of our forum, and we will, of course, let her have the podium and address all of you at that time if she is able to make it. You'll see an asterisk in your program as well. We move now to Portage Township trustee. We are not featuring all of the trustee candidates in Joseph County. So why Portage? Well, we are in Portage right now at the library. The library is also where the League of Women Voters holds its board meetings. It's also where IU South Bend is located. So people who are coming to this particular forum may live in Portage, but not necessarily. We think it's also a good example of the kinds of issues that trustees and advisory board members may wish to talk about. And we have a couple of folks from Penn here too who will introduce themselves to you so you can talk more with them if you're in Penn Township at the reception. So we will start first with Joseph Adams.
My name is Joseph Adams Jr., and I am a candidate for Portage Township trustee. Poor relief or emergency assistance is one of the most important responsibilities for the township. But recently, there's been disagreement among our local government for how to best care for our neighbors in need. But the answer is simple to me. If they are hungry, we feed them. And if they are naked, we clothe them. Then and only then can we give them good workfare programs and training programs that enable and empower them to bounce back and ultimately give back to this community. This community taught me that with teamwork and good ideas, we can do anything. This community experienced me as a veteran and a senior leader in the Army National Guard and other public and private positions. This community educated me with a master's of business administration and 2 bachelor's degrees from WGU and IUSB. This community is smart enough to know that this position is not a political position, but instead it is a position that requires passion. In fact, the Indiana Constitution says that the trustee is the caretaker of the poor. So with your vote and with your support, we are going to clean up the wasteful spending on administrative costs and better spend your money to care for our neighbors in need. We are going to fight against the hunger and the poverty and the homelessness that affects our children and our seniors. And we will win. My time is up. Please vote Joseph Adams Jr., Portage Township trustee.
Thank you, Joseph. I didn't mention to the crowd, we only gave them 90 seconds. There are also several of my former students among these candidates, but I won't tell you which ones. Let's move next to another candidate for Portage County trustee, and that is Sean Coleman.
Good evening and thank you. As a member of the South Bend City Council, I served the residents of Portage Township for over 17 years on a part-time basis. And as St. Joseph County Treasurer, I served all the people of Portage Township. Why am I running for Portage Township trustee? Because I want to put my experience to work for the people of Portage Township. And after more than 31 years of having the same township trustee, I believe it's time for real change. When I was St. Joseph County Treasurer, it was my goal to create a 21st century county treasurer's office. And we accomplished that through innovation, technology, and new ideas. And I will make that same commitment as Portage Township trustee. As Joseph said, the most important duty of the township trustee is poor relief. I think the township trustee can be more than someone who simply provides assistance for people who qualify. I think the township trustee can be a leader in bringing together on a regular basis all of the not-for-profit social service agencies and utilities that also provide assistance to coordinate our services, to reduce the amount of red tape, and most importantly, to make certain that no one falls between the cracks. And I'll make this commitment as Portage Township trustee that the people who utilize the services of the trustee's office will always be treated with dignity, compassion, and respect, whether we can provide them with assistance or not. I would be honored to serve as Portage Township trustee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Damian Cruz and Chuck Bories are unable to be here this evening. And so we will move next to our Portage Township Advisory Board candidates. This is also a contested race, and they each will have a minute at the mic. We start with Cheryl Ash.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Ash, and I am running on the Democratic ticket for Portage Township Board. The main duty of the board member is to approve the budget. And I think people need to understand that we do not have the ability to recommend various things to be spent on the budget. And that's the trustee's job. We just basically approve it and all. What I'd like to say is that I believe that one of the things I want to see happen is modernization of the office. I also think it's really important that there be a website. We presently don't have a website for the Portage Township trustee. And because I knew poor people did not get the Tribune where most announcements are made of new social service programs, with the present trustees' permission, I made a Facebook page. Please vote for me, Cheryl Ash.
Thank you, Cheryl. We hear next from Myron Busby Jr.
Thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to adhere to Jeb Bush's advice from his wonderful mother at her funeral, be quick and to the point. The reason I'm running for the board is to continue the good work that that office does to help our friends in Portage Township and St. Joe County in their time of need. Remember, it's important to give and to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Myron. We hear, is Richard Hunt here? Yes, excellent. Okay, we hear next from Richard Hunt.
Thank you for bearing with me for a minute. I think my 36 years of experience in governmental finance is too tall for me. My 36 years in governmental finance and management, including earning $150 million of various units of government which went back to the taxpayer to defray taxes, it would be helpful, and at least that's my goal. And I hope that you would agree with me on that. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Our next candidate for the advisory board is Marlene Wright.
Hello, I'm Marlene Wright. I'm running for re-election to the Portage Township Advisory Board. I want to talk about a few of the things, well, one of the things that has been alluded to, and that is dignity and respect. The clients come in, they have had jobs, they have paid taxes, they all are there for a handout. We need to treat them with dignity and respect. A lot of them come in, they're embarrassed, they're humble, they've never had to ask for help for paying their bills, housing, rent, or even food. So I want you to vote for Marlene Wright. You can't go wrong with Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. Thank you.
And you can read more from our trustee candidates and also our advisory board candidates, not only for Portage Township, but for other townships across the county at vote411.org. Have I plugged it enough yet? Let's turn next to the Indiana House of Representatives. Unfortunately, Representative Devon could not be here this evening. He hoped to be here, but is unable to get back in town until 8 p.m., which is when we end. And so we will hope to hear more from him in the fall, when we will certainly invite him to debate with us. And at that time, he will be debating, we hope, Don Westerhausen, who is here this evening.
My name is Don Westerhausen. I'm running for House District 5 in the state of Indiana. That's Mishawaka and Granger. I'm a practicing physician. I've been an interventional cardiologist in town here for about 25 years. So I'm the guy that keeps you away from the heart surgeons if anybody has a stent or anything. Why am I running? The reason I'm running is because I believe that this is a natural extension of what I do every day, and that's to help people to live a better life. And the way that I've looked at the Indiana State Legislature, what's coming from Indianapolis, is they're not helping people. All they're doing is helping special interests and large corporations. And I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for balance. I think it's time for forward thinking and not backward thinking. My platform is education. I'm a strong advocate of public education. It's for healthcare. I do believe we should have affordable healthcare for everyone, not having healthcare be managed in the emergency department, and also for economic opportunity. Indiana has some problems with economic opportunity, and we need to change those. And a lot of that has to do with just how we treat working men and women and our wages. So if you're from Mishawaka or Granger, or you just want to help with our campaign, please see me outside or visit me on my website, which is votewesterhausen.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we next go to Indiana House of Representatives District 7. Joe Taylor is unable to be here this evening because he works second shift, and there are a limited number of times that he can get off of work for purposes like this, but he does hope to debate with us in the fall. We are pleased, however, to have Troy Dillon with us this evening, and we will hear next from him. He is the Republican candidate for Indiana House of Representatives, District 7.
Thank everybody for being here tonight. My name's Troy Dillon. I am running for Republican for state representative, 7th District, which is basically the southern 2/3 of St. Joe County, Wyatt, Woodland, the southern edge of South Bend, Mishawaka, and covers Lakeville, North Liberty, Crumpstown, Waterton. I have 3 children, grown, 2 sons and a daughter. I have 9 adorable grandkids. When it comes to the 7th District, this has been my home. I'm a business owner, worked for family businesses. I've worked all over this district. I think something to be involved with your community is a big difference on being able to represent the people. You know, I've worked all over district, went to 4 schools in the district. I have farmed in a district. Potato Creek State Park's been in North Liberty for 40 years. I was there the week it opened. You know, I still go there to this day. You know, I have many roots, you know, parents, grandparents, both sides, great grandparents, both sides that have worked and farmed all over this district. You know, I do 2 community events every year that I reach out to the people. One's a golf outing to raise funds for school kids in North Liberty and Waterton schools for backpacks or food. And I also do a Thanksgiving event every year, which this past year at the North Liberty VFW, we had approximately 300 people come for dinner. I was in the Indiana National Guard for 6 years. I'm very passionate about veterans. Public safety, school safety are hot topics for me. Abuse, and that's spousal, child, and even pet abuse. There's a lot of more areas we can talk about afterwards, since we're so short on time here. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Troy. And one of the great things about being a mere 25 years old is that I now need the larger print. Okay, I might have shaved off a couple decades, but when a student thoughtfully blew up the program for me for my podium, it unfortunately cut off the very bottom, which said Indiana State Senate. And so we want to hear next from our candidate who is here this evening, Indiana State Senate District 11. And we will hear from Ed Liptrap, who is the Democratic candidate. He is running unopposed in the primary. Linda Rogers has opted not to participate in the forums this season. Joe Zakis wanted to be here but was unable to do so. He did agree to a debate this primary season, and that unfortunately did not happen, but we trust that he will be up for a debate with Ed in the fall. So we look forward to hearing from Joe at that time. But this evening, we have 90 seconds to hear from Ed Liptrap.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm a little bit underdressed tonight. About 24 hours ago, my campaign got a call from a woman in Granger, and a victim of domestic abuse. And for the last 24 hours, our campaign team has been working on getting her moved out of her house, finding her a new place to live, making sure that her kids are taken care of. I don't bring that up as a pat on the back. I bring that up because I didn't do that because I'm a candidate. I'm a candidate because that's what I've done my whole life. That's who I am. I'm a Navy veteran. I put on the uniform because I wanted to serve people, stand up for people, and fight for people. And I'm asking you to go down to the Indiana State Senate and go fight for people. I believe wholeheartedly that in order to fight for people, you have to actually show up. We answered the call last night. There was a reason she called us, because she knows who we are. She knows that we would fight for her. Education is huge to me. Environmental issues. We have eight of the 11 EPA Superfund sites are in my district. I'm looking for everybody in our community to feel safe, and so I'm asking for your vote. Please see me outside if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ed. And I should clarify my previous comment, which is that we hope that Linda or Joe, whoever wins the primary, will debate Ed in the fall. We turn next to probate judge. This is another race that is not contested in the primary, but is contested in the general election next November. Jason Chisowitz was unable to be here, but we are joined this evening by the incumbent, Jim Fox.
Thank you all. Thank you, Professor Benyon. Ms. Mandrici's in the house. I'd like 3 seconds added back on time. I'm the judge of the probate court, and the probate court really deals with juveniles, juveniles in crisis, and families in crisis, paternity, establishment of paternity, delinquency, abuse and neglect, and termination of parental rights, adoptions, and then on guardianships of children, and then guardianships of incapacitated or at-risk adults, and then trust wills and estates. And it's a very difficult. Many of the things you've heard here before are issues that come before our court. So we talk about gun violence. We're part of the group violence initiative, try and cut down. We're working with local police agencies to identify people that are gang involved and try and change their path, change them if they'll let us, help them change, and if not, work with them to change through the system. We also get a lot of people, so we hear about people that have had emergencies. It's a 24 hours a day, 7 day a week, 365 days a year job. We have children and families in crisis that are detained from their parents in abusive, neglective homes and detained for delinquency. So you have to provide constantly hope, honest, open, transparent government. I think we've done that. I think we've been the most efficient branch of government. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. Openness and objective detention of children, trying to unify that and work with stakeholders to provide professional and experience. And hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. A lot of things we're doing are really big initiatives. So I look forward, and I'd like to have your vote on November. Thank you.
Okay, no, Jim was talking very quickly to get in his 90 seconds. You can find more from him at Vote 411, as well as from Ed and both of the Republican candidates for District 11 in the Indiana Senate. We turn next to County Commissioner District 1, and this is another race that will be contested in the general election. We will hear first from incumbent Andy Castelny.
Good evening. My name is Andy Castelny. I currently serve as County Commissioner for District 1. It's been my pleasure to do so since 2009. I've served as president of that board for the last 4 or 5 years. District 1 is the northern part of St. Joseph County. There are 3 commissioners. And I think one of the things that separates local races and local elected officials from some of the folks in DC and in the State House in Indianapolis is there isn't the toxicness, there isn't the polarization so often, that when we get together at the community level, we're working to make our community a better place. We're working to make where we live a better place. One of the main reasons why I do that is I've been fortunate enough, my wife Joy and I have married for almost 30 years. We've raised 3 kids, 2 school teachers and one soon-to-be nurse. And the reason why it's important is because I want St. Joe County to be a place where we can raise a family, continue to raise a family. So my kids can find a good job, can stay home, can raise our 2 grandkids with 1 more on the way. It's for the Lucys and the Henrys that we have, that why we do the work is so important. One of my main goals is I've been focusing on economic development, because if we can't find a way to bring more good paying jobs and take advantage of the great workforce and a lot of the skills and the resources that we have, then we're failing our community. So it's once again for the Lucys and the Henrys of all of our lives, which is why I serve, and that's why I'm running for re-election. That's why I'm asking for your vote in November. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Andy. We heard next from Challenger, who is running in the Democratic primary, and that is Tim Swagger.
Thank you, Dr. Benyon, League of Women Voters, and you're clearly very dedicated students with the American Democracy Project. The turnout of these events is a great testament to your effort. My name is Tim Swagger. I'm the Democratic candidate for County Commissioner. I grew up working in our family business. I've held every position on the factory floor, from county nuts and bolts to welding, and now on to vice president, where I serve today. But along the way, I had the opportunity to serve on Capitol Hill and public policy positions for 2 Democratic members of Congress. And the reason I was drawn to that work is the same reason that I was drawn to running for this, and that's to try to make a positive difference in people's lives. When you talk about the county commissioners, the responsibilities are vast, but it really comes down to identifying and solving problems. So when you're talking about the public health of the county, or the opioid crisis, or some of the less glamorous things like leaf collection or potholes or unanswered 911 calls, those are all things that we have a hand in solving. And I think that my experience and a fresh take and new ideas will go a long way in solving those issues. It's 2018. They've built better mousetraps. And I encourage you to come find me and the reception, and make sure that I'm not just trying to sell you snake oil. So thank you for being here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Before we move to our county council candidates, I would like to call incumbent assessor Rosemary Mandrici up to the podium. Rosemary, we weren't 100% sure how many questions those first-time home buyers will have, so we've already heard from your opponents, but she will have 5 minutes now to talk to you about why she believes she should be re-elected assessor.
Thank you, Dr. Benyon, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and the American Democracy Project for having this event again this evening. I apologize for being late, but I had already committed to speaking to the first-time home buyers group. So with that, if you have not read in the newspaper or the 411 survey, a little bit about myself. I am the current county assessor seeking re-election. I'm a level 3 Indiana certified assessor appraiser. I'm a graduate of St. Mary's College. I serve on the board of the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals, on the Indiana County Assessors Association Board. I am the Northwest president of the Indiana County Assessors District chapter. So with that, a little bit about the goals that we had achieved at the assessor's office is, of course, continually on-time billing. And we had a backlog of a number of appeals, over 15,000 that we have processed over the years. We have made things a lot more transparent. Our property record cards are online now for the taxpayers. We've established relationships with various groups, the Board of Realtors and other stakeholders in the community. We have put on extended hours so taxpayers can come in and don't have to take off work to review their assessments when we notify them once a year. So there are a lot of different things and programs and goals that we have achieved, and many still to come. Thank you.
You will see that the county council districts are listed in reverse alpha order, and that's because a couple of our candidates are incumbents who are in committee meetings this evening, and so they were trying to get here. Did they make it yet? Yes, okay. But we are going to start first with County Council District H, and we will hear first from Democrat Joe Kanareki.
Thank you, Dr. Binion. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'd like to say they started with the best, but really it's probably Bobby Kay's last, so they probably saved the best for last. My name is Joe Kanareki. I'm a Democrat running for St. Joe County Council. I currently represent the city of Mishawaka, elected to their council. And District H is unique. It kind of crosses, encompasses a little bit of both cities. I am a financial advisor, a retirement planner by trade. I am a father and husband, mostly by choice. I have four children from preschool age all the way up to college age. And there are a lot of why I serve. There are a lot of why I seek this office. All of my accomplishments have happened here in St. Joe County, South Bend and Mishawaka. And I look forward to providing my children with those same opportunities. And I think that we can do that through working hard in local government. I think there's a lot of opportunity in local government to make those important changes. The county is going to be facing this fiscal cliff you may have read about. It's going to be some serious budget constraints, and we're going to need creative solutions. We're going to need innovative solutions. I think we've started to accomplish that where I serve now. I look forward to accomplishing that where I look forward to serving in St. Joe County. And I think that those sorts of new ideas will be the kind of things that will help create these opportunities for my children, my family, your families for years and years to come. If you have any questions, I will be on the hall. My time is up. Our website is go4joe.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we hear from Republican Brian Pawlowski.
I'm going to try to break the rules maybe. When you're short and you're behind a podium, it feels like this, right? Sorry. My name is Brian Pawlowski. I'm running against Joe in November. And going against the grain of the political moment a bit, the first thing I want to do is say that this has been, it's only almost May, but it's been a fun race so far. It's been fun to run against Joe. I think he's got good motives. I think he's got the best for the city of South Bend and the city of Mishawaka at heart. And so it's been fun to engage in this. There's been some discussion today about former Republicans, now bus drivers maybe, or something along that line. I can understand that line, but I think the key is results. And when you came here tonight, you may have driven by the Ivy going up over there by Four Winds Field, which is an apartment complex. You may have driven by the Courtyard by Marriott over here, which is a brand new hotel across from the Century Center. And if you go up 23, you'll drive by that giant pile of dirt that my children want to play in all the time that is soon to be Eddy Street Commons Phase 2. I'm proud to say that I served Mayor Pete Buttigieg, first as the Deputy Chief of Staff, and 10 seconds or 30? Good, thank you, that's a big difference. And secondly, as his Economic Development Director. And I got to work on those projects. And now we get to see things coming out of the ground, and all that is a result of people who can agree on what's best for their community, coming together, rolling up their sleeves, and getting those things done. That's what I want to do on the county council. I think it can be done. It should be done for all of our benefits. And I hope in November you go and vote. Time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brian. We hear next from County Council District C candidate Cindy Kilgore.
I'm short also. A couple years ago, I retired after 31 and a half years as a South Bend police officer, and I spent my last 8 years as a lieutenant running the Crime Stoppers program. Since November 2016, I have heard the call for people to get involved in politics, even on a local level, and I felt drawn into public service again. I think the county council has done a good job anticipating the fiscal cliff by asking each county department to trim their budgets. Obviously, we need to work on economic development to increase our tax base, and an asset in doing that will be a healthy community. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation has ranked Indiana among the lowest in the nation in quality of life, and St. Joe County in Indiana is ranked 71st out of the 92 counties. Unfortunately, in the process of budgetary cutbacks, the county health department has been required for the last 10 years to decrease their budget every year by 3 to 5%. I think it's very important that we find creative solutions to the problems we're facing, and that we aggressively look for other means of funding, and that could be through grants and foundations. The CDC actually has ranked Indiana 50th in all 50 states for CDC money, and that means we're leaving money on the table. We need to be aggressive in looking for those funds. I too will be out in the hall, electcindykilgore.com, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Cindy Kilgore is in the somewhat unusual position of not being sure who she will face in November. With the resignation of Councilmember Jamie O'Brien, the Republicans need time to caucus and select a candidate for that race. We turn next to County Council District B. And Republican Dennis Jordan is unable to be here. He had hoped to be here, but he had a pre-scheduled business trip that he was unable to rearrange. But we are joined now, rushing to us from a committee meeting. We are joined by Corey Noland, the Democratic candidate for County Council District B.
Good evening. As she said, my name's Corey Nolan, District B on the St. Joseph County Council, served in that capacity for about the last 9 years. Bobby K has mentioned that he must be the best. I must be second to best because he's actually not here. But so I think I'm the end of the night here as far as the people that you're going to be listening to. So I'm going to be really brief. I do much better in debates or discussions or even arguments than I do standing up here for 90 seconds telling you that I'm the greatest thing that there is. But I'd appreciate your vote. I ask your vote. I feel like I've been doing a good job. I'm eager to do it for another 9 years and beyond that. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. I told candidates who are here from other townships that if we still had a few minutes at the end of our scheduled candidates, they would have an opportunity to have a quick, am I forgetting somebody? No, minute at the mic to tell you who they are and invite you to talk with them more at the reception. Oh, and so, yes. And so we'll start first with a couple of folks who are running for Penn Township, Tamara Springer and James Gillen.
Good evening. Thank you for hanging around for us to talk. I'm James Gillen. Those who know me best call me Jim, and those who love me most call me Daddy. And it's in large part because of those two that I'm here tonight. In the 9 and 6 years that I've had those two blessings, respectively, they've taught me a little bit about living, but a lot about love. And that's sweet, but it's also kind of unfair because it's not their job to teach me. I'm their father, and I feel it's my job to teach them. And the best way to do that is by example. And I live my life by a couple guiding principles. One being to do what is right because it's right. The other is to be the change that you want to see in the world. And so that's what I'm trying to show them how to do. At the township level, as a trustee, we are charged with poor relief, and that is actually a beautiful calling in public service. And I see a great opportunity in that role to work with the existing support services like food pantries, and then also work with local businesses and business owners. And when people come to us in need, assessing their need and seeing how we can best marry what their need is with resources in the community that exist. And that's what I hope to do. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tamara Springer, and I am running for the Penn Township Advisory Board. I just want to say I grew up in Penn Township. I went to Penn schools, and I came back 14 years ago. I'm living there now, and I would like to get started in local government, and I thought this was a good way to start. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe that our last candidate who we will hear from this evening is Rita Glenn, who serves as our county clerk. And there's no way with a minute of the mic that she can tell you everything she does. I think this was quite educational for my students to see all of the things that this office is responsible for. So check out Vote 411 for more, but we'll hear at least a brief word from Rita now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Binion, and thank you, the voters of Indiana. Again, my name is Rita Glenn. I am born and raised in St. Joseph County, a member of Holy Family Church, and that's a grade school I went to in Washington High School. My husband and I will be married 43 years this Friday. We have 2 sons, 2 beautiful daughter-in-laws, and 6 grandkids. I have a passion for the courts and serving the public, and that's what I hope to keep on doing. Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's have one more round of applause for all of our candidates. We invite you to fill out the little survey in your program. If you don't have a pen or pencil, a volunteer will be happy to provide one for you, or you can get one at the American Democracy Project table. And if you want to do it out in the hallway with the food, the candidates, and more light, that's okay too. You can submit those at the ADP table. We invite you all to join us for a networking reception with the candidates where you can ask them questions that you might have. And again, we invite you to take advantage of the other resources listed at the back of your program. Thank you all for coming this evening.